You ever notice how people are like books? Some have flashy covers, bold titles, and promises of greatness, but the moment you start flipping through the pages, the story doesn't add up. Others, they're quiet, unassuming, but packed with wisdom and depth when you take the time to read them. The thing is, you can't judge someone's true character by the surface, no sir. To really see who someone is, you've got to look deeper past the words they say, past the image they project. And let me tell you, life has a way of showing you exactly who people are if you're paying attention. It's in the little things, the subtle actions, the moments they think no one is watching. That's where their true self lives. So tonight I want to share with you 8 things, just 8, that will uncover someone's real character. Pay attention to these and you'll never be fooled by appearances again. 1. How they treat people who can't do anything for them. You want to know who someone really is? Don't just listen to what they say, watch what they do when there's nothing to gain. Pay attention to how they treat the waiter who brings their food, the janitor cleaning up after them, or the cashier ringing up their groceries. These are the moments that speak louder than any words. Real character isn't shown in how someone interacts with people who can offer them something, a raise, an opportunity, or even recognition. It's revealed in how they treat those who seemingly have nothing to offer in return. Because let me tell you, true kindness isn't transactional. It's not about, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Real kindness comes from a place of authenticity, a genuine respect for the humanity in everyone. Now, here's the thing, the loudest person in the room, the one boasting about their good deeds or flaunting their generosity, that's not always the one to trust. True character doesn't need to advertise itself. It lives in the quiet, consistent acts of respect and decency, the gestures made without an audience. So when you're trying to see someone's true nature, look past the noise and into their everyday actions. That's where their heart is. 2. How they handle conflict. Everybody looks good when the sun is shining and the road is smooth. Smiles come easy, words flow effortlessly, and kindness feels like second nature. But life isn't always smooth, is it? Storms roll in, pressures mount, and plans fall apart. And that's when you see it, the moment someone's true self steps forward. If you want to know who a person really is, don't look at how they act when life is easy. Watch them when life gets messy. That's when the mask slips and the truth comes out. When things go sideways, when they're angry, frustrated, or overwhelmed, how do they respond? Do they lash out, throwing blame around like it's someone else's problem? Do they manipulate, trying to twist the situation in their favor? Or do they face the challenge with grace, holding on to their values even when it's not convenient? These moments aren't just cracks in the facade, they're windows into the soul. Here's what you need to remember: how someone handles conflict isn't just a reflection of their emotions, it's a reflection of their character. Do they fight fair, or do they throw low blows? Do they listen, or do they talk over everyone in the room? Do they act with integrity even when it's tough, or do they compromise their principles to get what they want? True character isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about holding on to who you are, even when the world tries to pull you in every direction. Anybody can act honorable when the stakes are low. But when the chips are down, when the pressure's on, that's when the real story begins. So when you're trying to understand someone's true colors, pay attention to how they behave in the middle of chaos, because character isn't defined by how you act when things go right, it's revealed in who you become when everything goes wrong. That's the truth, plain and simple. 3. What they do when no one's watching. Oh, this is a big one, what people do when the lights are off, when the applause has faded, and when there's no one around to witness their actions. That's where you find the truth about who they are. You see, it's easy to put on a show when there's an audience. Anyone can act upright and honorable when eyes are on them, waiting for approval or recognition. But the real test of character, that comes in the shadows, in those moments when no one's looking and there's no one to impress. Think about it. The person who cuts corners when they think no one will notice, that's the same person who will cut corners with you when they believe they can get away with it. It might seem harmless at first, skipping a small step here, bending a rule there. But it's not about the size of the act, it's about the mindset behind it. If someone's willing to compromise their integrity in the little things, what's stopping them from doing it in the big things? Integrity isn't just about doing the right thing when it's convenient or when there's something to gain. It's about doing the right thing because it's right, even when it's hard, even when it costs you something, and especially when there's no one around to see it. That's the kind of character that stands the test of time, the kind that doesn't waver depending on the circumstances or who's watching. Here's the thing, the decisions people make in private ripple out into their public lives. You might not see it immediately, but those small moments of dishonesty or cutting corners have a way of catching up. And when they do, they leave a trail. Trust is fragile, and once someone breaks it, rebuilding it is one of the hardest things to do. But it's not just about avoiding harm or protecting yourself from someone else's lack of integrity. It's about setting a standard for yourself and the people you allow in your life. Surround yourself with those who value honesty, consistency, and reliability, not just when the stakes are high, but also in the quiet, unremarkable moments. Because those quiet moments, they're the foundation. They're where true character lives and breathes. And let's not forget, while you're observing others, take a moment to reflect on yourself. What do you do when no one's watching? Do you hold yourself accountable, even when it's tough? Do you stay true to your principles, even when there's no applause waiting at the end? That's where you find your own strength, your own integrity. So watch carefully. Pay attention not just to what people do in the spotlight, but also in the shadows. Because the choices made in those moments don't just reveal who someone is, they define who they are. And you deserve to surround yourself with people who shine just as brightly when no one's watching as they do in the glare of the spotlight. 4. How they handle success. You ever see someone get a little power, a little fame, or a little money, and all of a sudden they're a whole different person? It's like a switch flips, and they start walking around like they're untouchable. Now, let me tell you something, success doesn't change people, it amplifies who they already are. If they were humble before, success will bring out even more humility. But if they were arrogant or entitled, success will only make that worse. So when someone achieves success, how do they behave? Do they remain the same person they were before? Or do they start treating people differently? Do they stay humble, or do they start looking down on others? That's the first test of character. The way someone treats people on their way up is often the same way they'll treat people on their way down. A person with true character doesn't forget where they came from. They remember the struggles, the sacrifices, and the people who helped them get to where they are. Do they acknowledge those who helped them along the way, or do they act like they did it all on their own? This is a huge sign of character. The ones with integrity understand that no one achieves success alone. They remember the people who believed in them when no one else did, and they don't forget the small gestures of kindness that helped them reach the top. Those who get a little power and act like they got there by themselves are showing their true colors. Ego is taking over, and that's never a good sign. Now, success can be intoxicating. The spotlight feels good. The applause is sweet. People start treating you differently, and that can go straight to your head if you're not careful. But here's the thing, those with true character stay grounded. They don't let their ego outrun their gratitude. They recognize that success is a privilege, not a right. They understand that they are where they are because of a combination of hard work, timing, and the help of others. The ones who stay humble are the ones who continue to grow because they never forget the value of gratitude. The other thing to watch for is how they handle their newfound influence. Do they use their success to lift others up, or do they use it to make others feel small? People with true character understand that real power lies in lifting others. They don't need to put someone else down to make themselves feel bigger. Instead, they share their success. They use their platform to empower those around them, to open doors for others, and to give back. The ones who use their power to tear others down will eventually find that they don't have anything solid left to stand on. And let's talk about the humility piece. When someone gets a taste of success, how do they handle it? Do they stay grounded, or do they start to act entitled? Someone who's humble doesn't let their success inflate their ego. They don't walk around with a sense of superiority. They remember the lessons learned in the trenches, and they never forget the people who helped them along the way. People with strong character realize that success is fleeting. It's like a wave that comes and goes. The humility that comes with recognizing this truth is what helps them stay centered. So how do you spot someone with true character when they achieve success? You watch how they treat others. You watch how they handle their own ego. And you watch how they remember their roots. The ones who stay humble, the ones who lift others up, and the ones who remain grateful for the people who helped them, they are the ones with true character. In the end, success is just a reflection of who you are inside. It magnifies your best qualities, but it also exposes your weaknesses. If you've got humility, gratitude, and a genuine desire to help others, success will only make you better. But if you let it go to your head, if you start looking down on others, if you forget where you came from, that's the moment your character is exposed. So remember, success doesn't change people, it amplifies who they already are. Let it amplify the best version of you. 5. How they handle failure. Now let's flip the script. Success, with its applause and recognition, can show you one side of a person. But failure unveils a completely different side. It's in those moments when life doesn't go as planned, when the dreams don't pan out and the plans crumble, that you truly see what someone is made of. So how do they respond when the rug gets pulled out from under them? Do they point fingers, blaming everyone and everything for their misfortune? Or do they take a hard look in the mirror and take accountability for their part? That's the first test of character right there. A person who consistently shifts blame is not just dodging responsibility, they're dodging growth. But the one who owns their mistakes, that's someone who's ready to learn, to adapt, and to rise again. Then there's the question of resilience. Do they stay down when they fall, letting bitterness and disappointment take root? Or do they dust themselves off and start climbing again? Resilience is a hallmark of strong character. It's about not letting failure define you, but using it as a stepping stone to something greater. It's about recognizing that setbacks are temporary, but the lessons they teach can last a lifetime. Here's another thing to watch for: how do they treat others when they're going through failure? Do they lash out in frustration, spreading their pain around like wildfire? Or do they maintain kindness even when life feels unkind to them? A person with strong character doesn't use failure as an excuse to mistreat others. They don't let their struggles become someone else's burden. Instead, they stay grounded, respectful, and empathetic no matter how tough things get. Failure also has a way of exposing what truly motivates a person. When the accolades and external rewards are stripped away, do they keep pushing forward because they believe in what they're doing, or do they quit because the journey is harder than they expected? Passion and purpose shine brightest in the face of adversity. Someone with a strong sense of self and a clear vision will persevere, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. And let's not overlook humility. Failure has a way of humbling us, bringing us back to the reality that no one is invincible. How someone handles that humility says a lot about their character. Do they grow wiser and more compassionate, or do they become cynical and hardened? The choice they make in those moments shapes not only their future, but also how they're remembered by others. Now let's be real, failure isn't fun. It stings, it challenges your confidence and tests your resolve. But for those with strong character, failure isn't a dead end, it's a detour. They understand that every setback comes with an opportunity to grow. They use failure as fuel, turning lessons into wisdom and struggles into strength. And this brings us to the deeper truth: failure doesn't just reveal character, it builds it. It's in those tough, uncomfortable moments that you decide who you are and who you want to become. So when you're observing someone, don't just look at how they handle success. Pay attention to how they handle failure. Do they rise above, or do they sink into blame and bitterness? Do they grow, or do they stay stuck? Because in the end, it's not the fall that defines you, it's how you rise. It's the grace you show, the lessons you learn, and the integrity you maintain when life knocks you down. That's where true character lives. 6. What they prioritize. If you really want to understand someone's heart, look at what they prioritize. Pay attention to where their time, energy, and resources go, because those things don't lie. A person might say all the right words, paint themselves as compassionate or selfless, but their actions, what they choose to invest in, will always reveal the truth. Do they spend their time with loved ones, supporting their family, nurturing relationships, and building connections that matter? Or is their energy consumed by chasing status, material things, and personal gain? When someone prioritizes family, community, and growth, they're telling you something profound. They're showing you that they value connection, integrity, and the well-being of others. These are the people who understand that life isn't just about what you achieve, but who you lift up along the way. But when you see someone whose priorities revolve solely around themselves, their image, their ambition, or their possessions, that's a different story. It tells you their focus is on appearances, not substance. They're more concerned with how things look than how they truly feel. And let me tell you, that kind of superficiality might look impressive at first, but it won't stand the test of time. Relationships, trust, and genuine fulfillment can't be built on a foundation of self-interest. Here's the thing, priorities are a reflection of values. They show you what matters most to a person, not through their words, but through their actions. You'll notice the person who always makes time for their family, even when life gets busy. You'll see the one who invests in their community, giving without expecting anything in return. That's the kind of heart that's worth knowing, one that recognizes the value of connection, generosity, and purpose. On the flip side, when someone's priorities are only about themselves, it can lead to a life that feels empty despite the outward success. All the wealth in the world can't fill the void left by neglecting meaningful relationships or the joy of contributing to something greater than yourself. So don't just listen to what someone says they care about, watch where they direct their energy. And let's not forget, you're showing the world your own heart through your priorities too. What do you make time for? What do you invest in? Your priorities speak louder than any words you could ever say. So if you want to build a life of depth, fulfillment, and integrity, align your priorities with your values. Focus on what truly matters, not just what looks good on the surface. In the end, priorities don't just define a person, they guide their entire life. So if you're trying to understand someone's character, or even your own, start there. Look at where the time, energy, and resources flow. That's where the truth is every single time. 7. How they speak about others. Pay attention to how someone talks about other people, especially when those people aren't around. This simple observation reveals more than you might think. Words are powerful. They have the ability to build or destroy, to unite or divide. How a person chooses to use their words, particularly when the subject of their conversation isn't present to defend themselves, says a lot about their character. Let's talk about gossip for a moment. It may seem harmless at first, just idle chatter or a passing comment, but gossip is never just that. It's a red flag, plain and simple. When someone engages in gossip, they're often exposing more about themselves than the person they're talking about. Gossip stems from insecurity, bitterness, or a need to feel superior. It's a way for people to mask their own shortcomings by pointing out or inventing those of others. Think about this. Why would someone feel the need to tear others down? It's because they lack the confidence to stand tall on their own. They see someone else's success, happiness, or even just their presence as a threat. Instead of focusing on their own growth or achievements, they try to bring others down to their level. That's not strength, it's weakness masquerading as power. People with strong character don't need to play those games. They don't see life as a competition where someone else's win means their loss. They understand that there's enough success, joy, and opportunity to go around. When they see someone else thriving, they celebrate it. They know that lifting others up doesn't cost them a thing. It only strengthens the community around them. And let's be clear, speaking with integrity isn't just about avoiding gossip. It's also about having the courage to address issues directly. When someone of strong character has something to say, they don't whisper it behind closed doors or spread it through third parties. They face the person involved with honesty and respect. That's what real strength looks like, being able to confront issues head on, not hiding behind whispers and rumors. But here's the flip side of the coin. When you encounter someone who's constantly speaking ill of others, you need to ask yourself, what do they say about me when I'm not around? Because let's be real, if they're comfortable tearing others down in your presence, it's only a matter of time before you become the subject of their next conversation. This is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who speak life, not negativity, people who encourage, uplift, and inspire. You don't want to be in circles where tearing others down is the norm, because eventually that negativity will seep into your own mindset. Ultimately, the way someone talks about others isn't just a reflection of their thoughts, it's a reflection of their heart. It's about the values they live by and the energy they bring into the room. So watch closely. Pay attention to how they choose to use their words. Are they building bridges or burning them? Are they adding value to the conversation, or are they subtracting from the spirit of the community? And while you're observing others, take a moment to reflect on your own habits. Are you using your words to lift, to inspire, to build? Or are you letting insecurity or bitterness slip into your conversations? Because in the end, the way we speak about others doesn't just define them, it defines us. Let's aim to be the kind of people who use our words as tools for good, who elevate rather than diminish, and who leave every room brighter than we found it. 8. How they face temptation. Lastly, let's talk about temptation. It's a test that comes for everyone, whether they're ready for it or not. Temptation isn't always loud and obvious. Sometimes it sneaks in quietly, disguised as an opportunity, a shortcut, or a harmless indulgence. It can be the lure of money, the intoxication of power, or the chance to gain something at someone else's expense. And let me tell you this, how a person handles temptation is one of the clearest windows into their character. When no one is watching, when the lights are off and there's no accountability, that's when the truth of a person is revealed. Do they stick to their values, or do they bend the rules because they think no one will ever know? Temptation doesn't just test your willpower, it tests your integrity. It asks the question, are your principles something you live by, or are they just words you use when it's convenient? Think about it. It's easy to stay on the straight and narrow when there's nothing pulling you in the wrong direction. But real strength isn't about avoiding temptation entirely. It's about standing firm in the face of it. It's about saying no when every part of you wants to say yes, because deep down you know what's right. The thing about temptation is that it often promises immediate gratification, a quick reward that feels good in the moment. But what's the cost? Betraying someone's trust, compromising your reputation, or stepping on others to get ahead. The price of giving in to temptation is always higher than the temporary satisfaction it offers. The real question is whether someone has the discipline to look beyond the now and think about the long-term consequences of their actions. Some people are masters at justifying their choices when they give in to temptation. They'll say, it's just this once, or it's not that big of a deal, but here's the thing, character isn't built in a single moment, it's the sum of all the choices you make over time. And every time you choose integrity over indulgence, you're strengthening that foundation. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Temptation is hard for a reason. It's designed to test you to see what you're made of. But the people who inspire us, the ones we truly admire, are the ones who rise above it. They're the ones who could have taken the easy road but chose the harder path because it was the right thing to do. They remind us that true strength isn't about what you can get away with, it's about what you can stand up to. And let's be real, this applies to all of us. We're all tempted at some point. Maybe it's the opportunity to take credit for someone else's work, to spread a rumor, or to cut a corner when no one's looking. But every time we choose to resist, we're not just proving something to others, we're proving something to ourselves. We're saying, I'm better than this. My values matter more than the easy win. So the next time you see someone facing temptation, pay attention. Do they stay grounded in who they are, or do they let the moment define them? And while you're watching others, don't forget to look in the mirror. Because in the end, it's not about whether you're tempted, it's about what you do when the temptation comes knocking. True character isn't built in the absence of temptation, it's built in the strength to overcome it. You see, while you're busy watching others, believe me when I tell you, someone's watching you. Your words, your actions, your choices, they all tell a story about the person you are. So let me ask you this, what story are you writing? I think about how you treat people who can't do anything for you. Are you kind? Are you respectful? Because let me tell you, it's easy to be good to someone who's good to you, but true character is revealed when there's nothing to gain. Are you the type to lend a hand to someone who can't repay you? Are you the kind of person who listens without judgment, who gives without expecting a return? That's the mark of integrity. Now let's talk about conflict. How are you handling the challenges life throws your way? Are you quick to anger or patient enough to seek understanding? Do you lash out or do you lead with empathy? Conflict isn't just a test of someone else's character, it's a test of yours. Every disagreement, every heated moment is an opportunity to choose grace over aggression, resolution over revenge. And what about success? How do you carry yourself when you win? Are you humble, or do you let arrogance creep in? True character doesn't flaunt victory, it shares it. It uses success to lift others, not to stand above them. On the flip side, how do you handle failure? Do you crumble under the weight of it, or do you rise, learn, and try again? Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. And how you navigate that process says more about you than the outcome ever could. Priorities, that's a big one. What are you putting first in your life? Your family, your work, your ego? Where you invest your time and energy is a direct reflection of your values. Are you consistent in what you say and do? Because if you're claiming to value one thing but your actions show something else, that inconsistency doesn't just confuse others, it diminishes you. Then there's how you speak about others. Do you uplift people, or are you quick to tear them down? Words are powerful. They can build bridges or burn them. Gossip and negativity may feel easy in the moment, but they chip away at your integrity in the long run. Be mindful of the energy you're putting into the world. Speak with intention and choose kindness whenever you can. Now let's touch on temptation. Life will present you with opportunities to compromise your values. Are you strong enough to say no when the easy choice isn't the right one? Temptation isn't just about morality, it's about discipline. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less, even when no one's watching. Finally, let's talk about the little things, the everyday moments that don't seem to matter much, but are the building blocks of your character. Do you keep your word? Do you follow through on promises, no matter how small? Consistency in the small things leads to greatness in the big things. Never underestimate the power of the seemingly insignificant. And here's the thing, character isn't static. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. Every single day you're shaping who you are. So let these 8 signs be more than a guide for understanding others. Let them be a blueprint for your own growth. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you say that defines you. It's what you do. It's how you live. It's the impact you leave behind. People may forget your words, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, how you treated them, and the legacy you left in their lives. So my friends, let's aim higher. Let's strive to be people of integrity, compassion, and respect. Let's be the kind of people who not only talk about values, but live them. Because when we lead by example, we don't just inspire others, we transform ourselves. Let's commit to this, to treating others with kindness, handling challenges with grace, celebrating successes with humility, and living a life that's aligned with our values. Let's build a legacy of true character that speaks louder than words ever could. Thank you.